Hello again, Cons here. The devs patched out the flower farm yet again, so obviously I got right to testing. I haven't even had a chance to look at any of the TU1 content yet, but it was worth it because my latest version of the farm has the best rates yet and it's basically unpatchable. Welcome to what is hopefully the definitive guide on this going forwards. I'm going to cover everything here in one place and I won't assume you have infinite research points or ignore ticket trading times or anything like that like some of the other guides do. It's all here and hopefully it's all fairly concise. Firstly, let's cover the rewards so you know if it's even worth doing. If you run this extremely easy farm for 1 hour, here's what you're going to get for it. Either 140 of the best weapon decorations, 280 of the best armor decorations, or 210 rare 8 artian weapon components, or some combination of these rates, it's really up to you. Basically infinite amount of any of the item retrieval resources you have set, ideally things like honey, mandragoras, mite seeds, and whatever else from the list you want. Likely a small-ish gain in research points, although ideally the lower the better, which will make sense a bit later. A significant amount of artian reinforcement materials if you follow a certain extra step that I'll cover. Infinite zenny, obviously. And you can use the pollen and the coins on other things too, like hard armor spheres being a solid choice. This is basically a viable way to farm everything in the game aside from like monster and crest rewards. Now you know what you stand to gain. Just before talking about the route itself, let's quickly go over some mechanics so you understand how it all works and how to change it for your needs. The main crux of the farm are these night flowers, which only bloom and become harvestable in the night of a full moon. The blooming occurs as evening turns into night, so resting straight to night skips it and they don't bloom. Once you harvest them, they can be traded with this NPC, Sekka, for one of 2 tickets. The golden melding ticket is for decorations, while the golden relic ticket is for artian weapon parts. She also trades them for hard armor spheres. You spend the tickets at the melding NPC in Suja. The NPC trades are randomized from a list that each NPC can choose from. Sekka won't always have the gold ticket trades available. Resting at the camp will reset the NPC trades, and depending on the time you rest until, it will also advance the moon cycle by 1. If you rest while only setting the weather and not changing the time, you'll reset the trades without changing the moon cycle. No matter what you do or don't change when you rest, it will always cost research points. It was increased to 500 points per rest in the latest patch. For this route, I would recommend starting with at least 5,000 research points, preferably more, just so you can afford to make mistakes without having to pause the whole thing while you go and get more points. The last mechanic to understand is that Wilds operates on a 7-phase moon cycle. So, let's cover my optimal route. There's one bit of setup to do before you get to the repeatable part, and that is reaching a full moon. Here's a chart showing the moon cycles in the game and what the moon looks like for each phase. What you do is you rest tonight, make the weather plenty when you do so you can see the moon, and then run out of the Windset Plains base camp a little bit, and just wait for like a minute or 2 for the moon to come up from behind the mountains. Then compare what your moon looks like to the chart to see what your current moon phase is, and if for instance it's at phase 3, then you just rest 4 times to evening to reach phase 7, which is a full moon. Make the weather plenty on the last rest if you haven't already. And now we're at the repeatable part of this farm. We're going to start at the base camp in the Scarlet Forest on the evening of a full moon, and we're going to check trades at the kit, which I can second mostly because we want the golden relic or melding trading tickets. You can also empty out any item retrievals or festival shares while you're here. After that, head over to Camp 8 in the underground lake and catch as many fish as you can with the capture net. You can fire the net more rapidly if you start crouched and then uncrouch and recrouch after firing, which saves you watching the extra animation at the end each time. Once you've caught some fish, follow this route to grab some ancient coins. There's one back here, one on top of this tree, one in this underwater area along with 5 gatherable weeds, and then one here near Camp 6 with 3 more weeds together. The weeds can be traded for more coins, and including crab spawns, you'll usually get like 9 or 10 on average per trip. You can get some extra points by netting some fish in this last coin spawn area. Then you return to Camp 8 and do another round of fishing for some more research points. Next, you rest at the camp. This time you set the weather to plenty, but you don't set the time of day to anything because we don't want to advance the moon cycle. We just want to reset the fish spawns and the trades. After resting, you do a round of fishing and then head back to base camp to check the trades at the kid. Take any golden ticket trades you can if you have the pollen for them, and then head back to Camp 8 and do another round of fishing before resting for plenty but no time change again. Keep repeating this cycle with a round of fishing, a check of the trades, and another round of fishing after every rest until the evening is almost finished. Then follow this route starting at Camp 14 to the first flower. Once evening turns to night, the flower will bloom and you'll be able to gather it. Then you can head over to Camp 18, that's Treetop Hill, not the other Camp 18, and get the second flower. Now all that's left to do is resting at base camp to evening 7 times in a row to get you to the next full moon, at which point you begin the entire cycle again. For these 7 rests in a row, I recommend setting the weather to inclemency for the first 6. This will net you some artian reinforcement ores from the festival shares, and it adds up surprisingly fast. The last rest should be plenty to get more fish spawns. And that's the route finished. You're back at another full moon at base camp, so you can go and check trades, head over, do some fishing, ancient coin route, and then, loop research point, trade, research point, all that stuff. There's some key points worth noting though, so I'll go through those now. Firstly, just to clarify for those who are used to the old methods, we don't reset the game at all or post any quests at any point during this. Those are the exploits that were patched out. Secondly, regarding the 7 rests for repeating the full moon, that might seem quite time consuming compared to old methods, but remember, we don't need to save and quit the game or reload it. Even on my SSD that used to take quite a while, and so it's barely any slower now. What it is costly. You need a bonus 3,500 research points per cycle to keep steady. That's why my route now fishes twice per rest rather than once. This does give you less trade resets, however I've built the route to try and perfectly balance everything out. I've painstakingly tweaked it so that you get just enough trade checks to trade for tickets reliably, and just enough fish to not lose research points overall, while still going on optimal trips for ancient coins to get you more tickets. With that said, the research point rates you get will depend on your skill at fishing. The quicker you catch them and the less that escape, the more points you'll get. Especially at first, you might not be able to keep up with the extra 3,500 points per night that you need. Fortunately, I've made the route flexible for all of this. If you're not getting enough trades, or if you're not getting enough research points, skip the ancient coin detour and spend that time doing more fishing and trading whenever you feel like you need to. You can even fish or check for trades in between each of the 7 rests for a full moon, although this lowers the overall rates and I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, I think I've covered everything. I'm like 50 followers on TikTok away from being allowed to stream there, so maybe consider that if you found this helpful. I'll be posting a significantly cut down version of this guide there, which will serve as a useful quick reference. I have 200 hours in this game, and genuinely like 150 of them have been spent on testing things for these darn flowers every time they patch it out. If you found it useful, please consider helping out the channel with a like or a comment. I'll be posting proper methods for reinforcement materials and armor spheres soon, so subscribe if you want to motivate me to make those quicker. And who knows, maybe I'll even post about hunting monsters in this Monster Hunter game at some point. Take it easy. Bye bye.